I had a guy. His name was Peyton Manning. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He had
I
he
know.
had whatever it is. He had it.
He had a lot of it.
Certainly,
Yeah.
he had a
Yeah.
bunch of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but yeah, because you always know you got a chance when you got that dude at the quarterback position. You always know you have a chance, and maybe it doesn't always work out, but you always believe. And certainly playing with Peyton, I saw that. It's not just offensively; it's defensively, it's special teams, it's coaching staff, it's everyone in the building believes that you always have a chance when you have that guy. And I do believe that Bo has it. Now it's still a work in progress, and we'll continue to evaluate it as we move forward. But he seems like he checks a lot of boxes.
Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos and Bourbon. I am your host, Phil Milani. Very excited about today's episode. Former Broncos wide receiver Brandon Stokley joins the program. We talk about all kinds of different things here. Bo Nix's development, where he thinks he is in terms of grasping this offense and what Sean Payton likes to do. And then we talk more about the team as a whole. Stoke not too concerned about what happened against the Ravens last week. And he even said that no matter what happens against the Chiefs coming up here, he feels like the Broncos are in a good position to be in the playoff conversation down the stretch. Of course, we're at the halfway point of the season here, so still a lot of football to be played. Asked Brandon Stokley about his relationship with Peyton Manning. Those two obviously very close friends. We've seen Stoke on the Manningcast, and also Stokley caddied for Peyton Manning at the BMW Championships earlier this year. So some good stories that he shared from that experience. So really appreciate Stoke coming on the show. You can catch him these days during your morning commute on 104.3 The Fan. He's on with Mike Evans from 6 to 10 a.m. And Mark Schlereth comes back and joins them at the end there. But it's mostly Stoke and Evans. So those two making a good pair there on 104.3 The Fan. Our nightcap is Wolcott, so make sure you stick around for that review. Kentucky Bourbon, and a pretty good a bottle there for $30 or so. So make sure you stick around for the review of Wolcott. But for now, here's my conversation with former NFL wide receiver, two-time Super Bowl champion wide receiver, Brandon Stokley. Brandon, thanks so much for taking some time to join the program here. How you been? Love hearing you on the radio in the morning these days.
Yeah, everything's been great. Enjoying doing radio, talking a lot of Broncos, following the Broncos this year, and Bo Nix and Sean Payton's second year. So yeah, it's been fun. And hopefully we can get some more wins down the stretch here, the rest of the season, and continue to develop Bo Nix.
Yeah, what do you think the state of the mind of this team is right now? Because you win 5 out of 6, you're riding high, you're feeling good, and then you run into this Ravens team and you just get walloped. I mean, 41-10. That's that's not just a defeat. I mean, they got beat pretty bad there. How do you think they're feeling this week?
I think they're fine. It happens. Sometimes you get your butt whipped. Sometimes you get your butt whipped a couple times in a row. Look, they lost the first 2 games of the season. They were 0-2, going on the road to Tampa Bay, a team that just beat the Detroit Lions. They're pretty good, right? Detroit. Tampa had just beat them. And the Broncos went down there and took care of business, and they took care of business the following week against the Jets to get back to 2-2. I like what this team is made of. It's not going to be perfect, and sometimes it's not going to be pretty. But I'm not concerned that all of a sudden after a tough loss or a couple tough losses that this team is going to be checked out. I think they got a really good coaching staff, and they got the players that can go through some adversity and not let it get to them.
So you don't buy this sort of notion that the Broncos have only beaten bad teams this year?
Well, I mean, they haven't certainly beat any, great teams, but that's okay. You play who you play, right?
Yeah.
And all these guys are getting paid. They're all in the NFL. So, look, we see it every single week. It doesn't matter what your record is. You never know. And we see big upsets every single week in the NFL. And all you got to do is go out there and win. And sometimes they're bad teams. Sometimes they're good teams. And the Broncos have won more than they've lost so far. They put themselves in a good position, and they're still 5-4 right now heading into this game against Kansas City.
You mentioned that you like the makeup of this team. I agree with you. Up until last week, they'd been playing with such a mental toughness and they're flying around. And you could just tell, like, Sean Payton has, changed that culture over there. What do you think that's been about? You think that that's all from Sean, or you think that, Bo Nix has played into that? What do you think has, like, contributed to this mental makeup of this team?
Well, I think it starts at the top, and you look at the tippy top, and what Greg Penner has done, and the Walton Penner group when since they've taken over, and what they're trying to accomplish and what they've already accomplished, and then you bring Sean on board here, and certainly look, he's the captain of this football team, and I think it starts with him and his coaching staff, and then you got to have the right guys. You got to have the right guys with the right makeup. It's not easy when you've lost since 2017. You haven't had a winning season. It's been bad. And so it's hard to turn that around. And now you're trying to do it with a young quarterback. So you got to have the right coaching staff. You got to have the right guys in the locker room. And I think they do.
Yeah, you feel like they've turned that corner then? Because, I think it's easy, like you mentioned, when you've lost so many games over the course of these years, like you start thinking, okay, here we go again. And that's like a sort of a slippery slope. You feel like the Broncos have turned that corner and now they have more of that winning mindset?
I do. I'm more optimistic about this team than I was a couple years ago. I'm optimistic about Bo Nix, but it's still early in the process. But I do. I think they have a different culture there now. I think they have a different mindset now, and we saw it last year after that terrible start. You had the Dolphins game where they gave up 70, and then you're able to bounce back and beat the Chiefs, beat the Bills, beat some really good football teams. So, and that's a credit to the locker room. That's a credit to the coaching staff.
Tell me about Bo Nix. What have you seen? How has he developed over the course of this year? Like, when you look at him now, how much better is he now that we're halfway through the season than what you saw week one in Seattle there?
Well, I think you see a guy that's more comfortable. The game is slowing down a little bit. It's not perfect, right? I mean, he's a young quarterback that you're going to see some good things. You're going to see some bad things. That's going to be what you see the rest of the year. And maybe into next year a little bit. But I see a guy where the game looks like it's slowing down a little bit for him. He's getting more comfortable with the offense, more comfortable with the speed of the NFL game. His footwork was a little bit of a question mark early. That seems to have gotten a little bit better. So that's what we want to see, progress. A little bit of progress, but also understanding that it's not going to be perfect.
How much of the offense do you think is on his plate now? Like, because last week against Baltimore, for a while there, it felt like he was rolling, like he was hitting some good passes and stuff. Yeah. You feel like Sean Payton has opened things up for him, or do you think that there's still a very measured approach with what they're putting on his plate?
I think overall, Sean has kind of opened it up and said, let's go. Sean trusts Bo. You can tell that he really likes him, and it's all how much can the young quarterback handle? Bo's very smart, played a lot of college football, so it's a fine balance there between just saying, "Hey, let's go. Here's everything. We're just going to go play football." To all right, we got to kind of still realize he is a young quarterback that we're trying to develop. You don't want to put too much on his plate, but I think he's a guy that can handle it. And one of the great things that from the outside looking in with Bo is, man, it's just he loves to compete. He loves the environment, and even if there are struggles, in a game or maybe two games or a quarter or a half, it's not going to affect him moving forward. He's got that mental makeup to be able to go through a little adversity and fight through it. And I think that goes back to how many games he started in college, transferring from Auburn to Oregon, and it wasn't always perfect, but he just battled through it, and we've seen that through 9 games here with the Broncos.
I was talking to Aqib Talib, and he said that the other guys on offense, or even just throughout that locker room, they know when a quarterback has it. Like there's like a feel throughout the locker room where you have like extra confidence just because you know that your quarterback has it. Is that true? Have you experienced that in the locker room where you're just like, our quarterback has it, like we've got more confidence going into matchups?
Oh, certainly. I had a guy, his name was Peyton Manning. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He had whatever it is, he had it.
He had a lot of it.
Certainly, yeah. He had a bunch of it. Because you always know you got a chance when you got that dude at the quarterback position. you always know you have a chance, and maybe it doesn't always work out, but you always believe. And certainly playing with Peyton, I saw that, and it's a nice feeling to have. But it's not just like key. It's not just offensively; it's defensively, it's special teams, it's coaching staff, it's everyone in the building believes that you always have a chance when you have that guy. And I do believe that Bo has it. Now it's still a work in progress, and we'll continue to evaluate it as we move forward. But he seems like he checks a lot of boxes.
On the other side of that coin, though, did you know, like, did you ever play with somebody where you're like, I don't know if we have it this week?
Of course, I played a
Yeah.
long time,
Yeah.
and there were some rough moments there. But even when you're in those situations, it's all about battling. It's all about competing. And these guys are in the NFL, and they're there for a reason. So they do have talent. But certainly, you go into certain situations knowing this is going to be tough. But hey, let's figure it out and let's try to find a way to get it done.
The trade deadline came and passed this week. The Broncos didn't make any moves, to bring in another weapon for the offense there. That to me suggests that maybe they have a lot of faith in some of these younger guys on the offensive side. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I think it says that certainly, but it also says that we want to continue to evaluate these guys and try to develop these guys. And how do you do that? By playing them. If you bring in a veteran wide receiver, all that's going to do is take away reps from Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Devon Vele. I'm excited about continuing to watch them develop, and the Broncos need to know some answers to the questions on, are those guys going to be the guys in the next 2 or 3 years that are going to be here and be a core foundational piece around Bo Nix? And if not, you want to know now. So guess what? In the draft and free agency, you can go try to find those guys to help Bo Nix out, because Bo does need more help around him. So I like the fact that they didn't trade future assets for a veteran wide receiver. I like continuing to try to develop these young guys and seeing what they look like moving forward, because you need to have those answers this offseason.
What's the hardest part, Stoke, about being a young wideout in this league? The offenses compared to college these days, I can't imagine, like a steeper learning curve than, some of these wideouts having to go from the college game to the pro game.
Yeah, and these guys are so much more prepared now than what I was coming out of college, certainly. But yeah, the playbook, and then just going up against real dudes every single week, and there's not many weaknesses out there, and even the guys that aren't the best are still really good. And there's just a lot. The game is moving a lot faster, a lot quicker than what it did in college. You're not 5, 6, 7 yards open, every other route. You got to make contested catches. You got to make adjustments on the fly. You got to be on it, and all while learning a new playbook. So there's a lot of challenges there. Certainly, a lot of thinking early on, and so it's a big transition to go from the college game where it seems like you see guys just running around wide open. The coaches are calling the plays from the sideline, and now you got to make more adjustments in the NFL, and all the while doing it against the best of the best.
It seems like with Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, like they've just been off. Like they've missed a few just really huge home run plays. You expect that those kind of things, the more that they play together, to sort of develop and they'll start clicking a little bit better.
Yeah, just a little bit off, and that's okay. Troy had a couple that he could have brought in, and hopefully next time he gets that opportunity, he makes a catch. Sometimes it just takes one. Just get that one, and if you do, and then next thing you know, it's like, okay, now you can exhale. All right, we got this. Wait, this is back to college for us. And then Bo missed him against the Ravens, just barely overthrew him by a little bit. And so it's one of those things where sometimes it just takes a little time. It's still early. Both these guys are rookies, 9 games in, early in their professional career here. So let's all remember that. I've liked some of the things that I've seen from Troy Franklin. He didn't have the best training camp. But there's some things throughout the season that I've watched with him that I said, okay, I see this guy progressing. And now you got to catch the football. I get it. You got to hold on to the football. And he's had a couple of tough drops, but he's also made some plays out there that we can't forget about. And he's a young football player that the Broncos are trying to develop. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And same with Bo. He missed Troy against the Ravens wide open, but that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully next time they connect.
Did you ever have a welcome to the NFL moment, Stoke?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, when I lined up in my first OTA and looked up and it was Rod Woodson, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Rod Woodson. It's like, what am I doing here? I can't believe I'm here in this moment. So yeah, and just a lot of them, honestly. Look across the field, you see Aikman and Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith and guys like that playing against Brett Favre. And I mean, I remember watching Brett Favre when I was in middle school and he was playing, my college at the time, Louisiana Lafayette, and I'm a ball boy and he's playing for Southern Miss. And then next thing you know, I'm competing against the guy. So moments like that for me never got old. And so there was a lot of welcome to the NFL moments that had me pinching myself.
Bo's been asked about that a few times this year. Like, hey, Aaron Rodgers is on the other side, or like Lamar Jackson this week, Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I imagine that's got to be pretty wild for him going through this rookie year.
Oh yeah. It's guys that you look up to, the best of the best, and next thing you know, you're on the same field as these guys competing against them, and it's that's what's cool about it. And the other thing I like about this, it hasn't been too big for Bo, and Bo's not in awe. I'm sure he enjoys competing against those guys, but the moment hasn't been too big for Bo, and so I certainly think that's a really good thing moving forward.
How about the defense? Had been like a top three defense in the NFL. Did they get a little exposed last week against the Ravens?
No, I don't think so. The Ravens are the Ravens, man. They are tough. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. What other team in the NFL has Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
I just don't see another team. So if another team has that, or we got 3 or 4 more of those that we have to play, then yeah, I'd be a little bit concerned. But and then you can throw in Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar. I mean, they got some really big time weapons offensively that you have to deal with. They're just a tough matchup. It's okay. Tough game on the road. And it came down to a couple possessions there that they just couldn't make the key stop. And that stuff happens sometimes, even the best of the best. So I think this defense is still a really good defense. I don't know if they're a special defense, but they're a really good defense. And, they had a tough week against the Ravens. And, we'll see what it looks like against the Chiefs and the Falcons and all these other teams. But I'm still confident in the group.
Big test this week against Patrick Mahomes. He hasn't put up those crazy numbers this year, but they're undefeated. In the past, it seems like blitzing Mahomes has been a little bit like playing with fire, and of course, that's where the Broncos have really excelled this year, is bringing pressure from different areas. What do you think the best approach is this week going up against Mahomes?
Pray, just pray, just pray. I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, everybody's tried everything. He's done it, and he's seen everything. People have been aggressive. People have been conservative. You just kind of pray that maybe they're dropping a lot of passes. Maybe he gets a ball tipped and you get an interception. I don't know. I mean, he's so good, and he's seen it all, played in the biggest moments, and he plays his best at the end of football games. The right approach, you got to change it up. You got to switch it up. And sometimes you're aggressive, sometimes you're conservative. You don't want to let them know what you're doing before you're doing it. Those types of things, right, that you try to do against all of the greats. Guess what? Everybody tries that every week. I mean, it's easier said than done. They got weapons. We see the emergence of DeAndre Hopkins now. You got to be kidding me. Kelsey's heating up. And their defense is playing well. Their running game is solid. They're a tough matchup. It's going to be a tough matchup. I mean, this team won 2 in a row, right? And they're trying to make it 3 in a row, and it seems like they're playing their best football right now.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, being thrown into the mix there. How much are you looking forward to seeing that matchup with PS2 this week?
Yeah, that's what it's about. Good on good and great on great, and that's what we'll see against the Chiefs. Certainly, DeAndre Hopkins trying to get still comfortable with the offense, we feel really good about Pat Surtain with the Broncos. So that's what it's all about. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Surtain on Kelsey in some instances there because of what he provides and brings to that kind of security blanket for Patrick Mahomes.
You mentioned them going for the three-peat here. What's that like being a defending Super Bowl champ? The next season, it feels like everybody's hunting you week to week, and now look at the Chiefs. They're undefeated.
Yeah, it's so impressive. They've done it 2 times in a row now. It's so hard to do. It really is. Everybody's patting you on the back. you're celebrating a little bit more than you did, the year before during the off season, having a good time. And, it's just human nature. Maybe you lose a little bit of that edge during the regular season, or that drive, or whatever the case may be. And everyone's shooting for you. Everyone's coming for you. You're getting their best shot. No one's overlooking you. And the Chiefs have responded, every single year. And we saw the struggles they had last year. But in the end, they just find ways to get it done. And but it's a very difficult thing to do. And now they are undefeated this year and going for 3 in a row.
Playing at Arrowhead has got to be tough. What's that like? I mean, you've had success there, but I imagine that things might be a little bit tough for Bo Nix and the offense this week.
Yeah, tough environment. Certainly, those fans, man, they're having a good time, and the Chiefs are giving them a lot of reasons to cheer and be supportive. So, but it's a tough place to play, and last week, tough place to play in Baltimore. So there's challenges out there when you go on the road. You play really good teams in tough environments like Baltimore, like you're going to see in Kansas City. It's going to present its challenges, certainly, and they put you in tough situations also, because they got good players and they got a really good team.
Last week, the Broncos used a little bit of trickery. We saw Cortland Sutton throw a pass to Bo Nix. Did you ever want to throw a pass in your career?
Oh, well, this old shoulder right here, Phil, this old shoulder, it went out on me late in my college career, early in my NFL career. I had surgery on it, so my quarterback days were over. I did throw it a couple times in college. I did have a touchdown in college. I did play quarterback in Louisiana growing up. We ran the option, and that didn't last very long, thank goodness. So my quarterback days went by the way of this old shoulder over here. So they didn't ask me to throw it. I could still throw it underhand a little bit like a softball pitcher. I could still do that, but I don't think that would have been a good idea in the game.
Were you impressed with where Sutton put the ball?
Yeah, and he got hit. He had pressure on him. Great throw. Bo went up there and boxed out the defender, big bodied the guy, made a nice catch, made sure he got in the end zone. We know that about Bo. Very athletic guy. So that was a good play. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing, when you're looking out to knock off a team like the Ravens last week or the Chiefs, we saw them be very, very aggressive going for it on fourth down. I like the same mindset this week, maybe a trick play or two, try to steal an extra possession, fake punt, something like that. Because if you just go out there and you just think you're going to go toe-to-toe with the champs and come out with a victory, that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, got to mix it up. Got to be able to do, catch them off guard maybe a couple times throughout. Yeah, for sure. I like that.
That's right.
Stoke, you mentioned your shoulder there. How was it? I have to ask you about caddying for Peyton at the BMW Championship. The shoulder made it through that week, huh?
Barely. Oh my gosh, it was I got so much respect for those professional caddies. Now it's tough walking that course, but it was a struggle. I was so sore the next day. My shoulders were sore. Well, Peyton packed about 28, 30 golf balls in the bag, right? And because he was doing the nice thing. He wanted to give away golf balls on every single hole, right? And so I was like, all right, that's a cool idea. But the problem was, after the first 4 holes, we had lost around 8 balls between the woods and the water. And so I said, hey, buddy, we got to take a couple holes off here, or I'm going to be digging in Wyndham Clark's golf bag to steal some balls, because we're running low here. You got to slow down on the water and the woods, man. Come on, let's go. Let's get it going. And he did. He settled in and started playing better.
Of course, that was thanks to you. I mean, how'd you calm him down after that tee shot that sort of went viral around the internet?
Yeah, the first tee shot wasn't ideal for us. Could have been worse. He didn't miss the ball. You try to be positive. He didn't hit it in the woods. Like, all right, hey, let's just get it going. I mean, that's a tough environment when that's not what you do. And you're on that first tee box, can be a little bit nerve wracking. I've seen that guy make a lot of clutch plays on the golf course, so he certainly has it in him. And so you just try to stay positive as a caddy. I'm the coach. I'm the caddy. And in those moments when things are kind of going the wrong direction, you want to be positive in those situations. And he ended up getting out of the funk. Took a little bit longer than I had hoped for, but after about 4 holes, he started hitting it pretty good.
Uh, I mean, obviously, you guys are close buddies. You've been on the Manningcast, right? Well, what's that like in that environment around there?
Well, I've never been invited as a guest.
Yeah, what's that about?
I'm a prop. I was used as a prop. But hey, I'll take what I can get. It was a
Okay.
lot of fun. I love that show, and they have fun doing it. And you also get the insight of Peyton and Eli, a little bit of Belichick in there, and so it is. I think they do a really good job, and I love watching it. It's fun. It's entertaining, and so that was fun. That was fun to go out there and be a little piece of it and catch a couple balls from him a few weeks back.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was like, hey, I know that guy. I know that guy. Okay, and then last one about this week, this matchup here. What do you think? You got a prediction for the Broncos here coming up against the Chiefs?
Well, I mean, I can't pick the Broncos. There's a reason why they're around a 9-point underdog. I mean, this is going to be a
Yeah,
tough game, right? You're playing a team that hasn't lost yet, but they look like they are human. They're not unbeatable. They played in a lot of close games, which I think is a positive for them. That the Chiefs have played in a lot of close games, and you're on the road, tough matchup. The one thing you do have going for you is that it is a short week for them. They played Monday night, a tough game, overtime game. And so maybe you got them overlooking you a little bit if you're the Broncos, but I got to pick the Chiefs in this one. It's just a tough matchup on the road for the Broncos.
if the Broncos drop this, they'll be 5-5 on the year. You think playoffs is still a reasonable expectation for the rest of the way here?
I do. I do. They put themselves in a great spot being 5-3 coming into the Ravens and the Chiefs on the road, two tough games. And so I'm not putting a lot into those games. That's not going to determine how they're going to play against the Falcons or the Raiders or the Colts or any of those teams remaining on their schedule. I'm really not putting a whole lot into it. I still think they're going to be in the playoff mix in the middle of December, just like they were last year. And hopefully this year they're able to take that next step and find a way to get in.
Yeah, yeah, be awesome to see. All right, Stoke. This next segment we call it Phil's Five. I'm going to ask you 5 questions here about your career, and the first one here is, who's your favorite teammate that you ever played with?
Had a lot of great ones, but it's hard to beat Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
He set the standard, and he was the best of the best. So I owe a lot of my career to being teammates with him for 5 years.
he makes it a little bit easier for you out there, huh?
Just a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay, what about the best guy that you ever went up against? Your top opponent.
Oh wow! I went up against some good ones. I look at Charles Woodson. I went up against Champ Bailey in practice a lot, but whenever we competed against each other, they didn't put Champ on me. They put Champ on Marvin and Reggie. But Charles Woodson was great. He played the slot a lot, and so obviously very athletic, tough, strong, long. It could do it all. I'd say Charles Woodson.
Yeah, Hall of Famer there. You have a favorite play from your career?
A favorite play?
Something that just sticks out like a memorable moment here that you're like, that was unbelievable.
There was probably two of them. I don't know if I'm cheating by doing two, but you look at the Broncos play, the deflection against the Bengals. That one gets brought up more than any other play.
Yep.
I am living here in Denver, so that was a fun one.
Gus
One
Johnson made that a special one too, huh?
Yeah, Gus killed it on the call. I just don't know if you'll see a play like that in the NFL again, where with the time the way it was and the ball gets batted up. But then I was fortunate enough to catch a touchdown my second year in the NFL in the Super Bowl against the Giants. First touchdown of the game. Just kind of really cool moment. Just never thought I would be in the Super Bowl, and then to be there to catch a touchdown. That was really cool.
Hard to pick between those two. I mean, those are got to be right up there. Okay, and then the best team that you ever played on. Maybe that team didn't win the Super Bowl, but maybe you thought it was the best collection, or was it a Super Bowl team? What's your favorite team, best team that you played on?
Yeah, this one hurts. It really does. I played on two great teams that I feel are were special teams, and probably the two best teams that I played on. And I won 2 Super Bowls, but these were the best, and both of those teams didn't come away with a Super Bowl victory. 2012 Broncos, start with that one. What a team, a great group of guys, and we were playing at such a high level. Unfortunately, we ran into the buzzsaw of the Baltimore Ravens, that was tough. And then 2005 Colts team, we had a great defense. Our offense was rolling, and again, just came up a little bit short.
It sort of takes a little bit of luck, huh, to win it. Like the best teams don't always win it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great thing about football, right?
Yep.
It's game 7 every playoff game. You don't have, we'll get them tomorrow. It's in basketball, hockey, or baseball where you got a 7-game series, a 5. I mean, it's one game. And if you are a little bit off, it doesn't matter what happened 3-4 weeks ago. If you're a little bit off, guess what? It's Cancun. You're starting your off season. So you only get one, unfortunately, for my 2005 and 2012 teams.
Yeah. That Broncos team was something else. Okay, and then what's your favorite lesson that you learned from a coach?
More games are lost in the NFL than won. Yeah, my Milt Jackson, my receiver coach, my first couple years in the NFL, that's what he used to say. And being from South Louisiana, it took me about, 2, 3, 4 weeks to really understand what he was meaning. I had to go back. I would think about it. I'd sleep on it. I'd wake up in the middle of the night. What the hell is Milt talking about? And I finally got it. And I said, I got it. So let the other team screw it up. You see it every single week. Just do the little things, take care of the football, and make this game close, and don't screw it up. Guess what will happen? The other team will screw it up, and you see that every single week in the NFL.
All right, good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's always a bad play versus the necessarily always like an amazing play that wins it. Yeah, okay. Good advice there. Thanks, Stoke. Last question for you here is career advice. You've gone on to have a lot of success here after your playing days. What would you tell somebody who maybe this is their last year in the NFL? They're starting to think about what life could look like on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, approach it just like you did the NFL, right? You gotta humble yourself. You gotta try to get better, improve. Realize that you don't know it all. I think that's the biggest thing, and that was my approach in the NFL. Was I looked at the great ones. How do they do it? How are they getting open? Okay, looking at Marvin, Reggie, Peyton. The work ethic that they have, and so. Obviously, if you play in the NFL for a long time, you got to have a great work ethic. And so that needs to carry over to whatever you decide to do. You got to love it. And then humble yourself. Don't think that you know it all. And work on your craft. So I think that's what I did in the NFL. That's what I'm trying to do now. And that's just kind of my approach to life.
Well, it certainly worked out, Stoke. We love hearing you on the radio now, in the morning time. So, we appreciate you coming on the show and really, enjoy hearing your insight on this Broncos team.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Phil. I certainly appreciate you having me and all your support throughout the years, buddy. Thank you.
My thanks to Brandon Stokley for spending some time here on Broncos and Bourbon. Really enjoy his insight and what he thinks about this Broncos team, and particularly what he thought about some of those young wideouts needing to play, and talking about the long-term development here of these weapons for Bo Nix. The Broncos need to figure out what they have in the bag so far. So got to let these guys play and see what they have. So appreciate Brandon Stokley joining the program. Of course, you can catch him on 104.3 The Fan FM every single morning from 6 to 10 a.m. My thoughts on this game. I think that this is going to be tough for the Broncos to pull this one out. Of course, you're playing at Arrowhead. It's going to be tough for Bo Nix and those young guys to really communicate, be on the same page. They're going to have to be very efficient, getting in and out of the huddle, getting to a line of scrimmage. They've done a better job of that recently, but, minimizing the penalties, things that really kill yourself. Kind of what Stokley was saying, more games are lost than won. that, just don't hurt yourself with penalties. I know that Garrett Bowles one got a lot of attention last week. Can't be doing that if you want to beat the two-time defending Super Bowl champs. More than that, though, I think it's going to be really tough to slow down that offense. We already saw DeAndre Hopkins have a major impact just 1 week there in Kansas City. Now he's going to have a little bit more time, and that's going to be a heck of a matchup to watch this week. Him and PS2. I really looking forward to that. Two bigger guys, two guys who are just masters at their craft, and really excited to see that matchup. But it's going to be tough. I know that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and all those weapons in Baltimore are tough, but it just felt like maybe things took a change there for this Broncos defense because they had been playing at such a high level. Seems like maybe it came down to earth a little bit. I'm interested to see how they bounce back because the other thing I'm concerned about is that they blitz so much and had so much success doing that. You just don't want to do that against Mahomes because he's so good at avoiding, taking those sacks. So I just think that this is going to be a tough one, and it's going to be tough because if you lose this one, then people are going to start really saying that the narrative around this Broncos team is that they can't beat good teams, and I don't think that that's true, but I do think that this is going to be a tough one. I mean, look, the schedule when it came out, you looked at these two games and you're like, that's going to be really tough. So I think that what the Broncos have done that's really good is put themselves in a good position that even if they lose this week, 5-5, if you're around 500, you're going to be in the mix down the stretch here. And that's what you really are hoping for, that, hey, they won 5 out of 6, lost to the Ravens. No matter what happens this week, they can get on a roll again and see if they can get into the playoffs. So that Bo Nix is going to continue to play better. And so you hope to see that down the stretch. And then you hope that this defense could figure out whatever went wrong against the Chiefs. But that's my thoughts on the game. I do think that they can win this, and they should have a lot of confidence after beating the Chiefs last year. And this Chiefs team is human. I mean, the Bucks drove the ball down the field against the Chiefs last week on Monday Night Football to force overtime. This is a heck of a Chiefs defense. So to be able to see Baker Mayfield do that without his two top wideouts there in Tampa, that lets you know that this Chiefs team is human. So, it's certainly possible for the Broncos to go in there, put up some points. But I think that the more concerning side of the ball is going to be this Patrick Mahomes. He's starting to gain confidence. I know his ankle is tweaked a little bit, but, DeAndre Hopkins there, I'm more concerned about that side of the ball going into it this week. So we'll have to see what happens out at Arrowhead. Let's get to this week's nightcap here. The bottle is Wolcott. Okay, this is from Clear Springs Distillery. Sort of a darker color in the bottle here. More of like a dark caramel color. Caramel or caramel? You tell me. Okay, I'm not sure. I think I say caramel, but then if I want to be fancy, I say caramel. I'm not sure, but 90 proof bottle, and this one comes in at about $30. This is sort of like a Total Wine type of thing. I don't know if you have Total Wine in your area, but this is definitely a bottle that they sort of push and say, hey, it's expert recommended there. So I decided to give it a try, and I'll let you know what I think here. It is 90 proof, so that's a decent amount of proof here. So we'll pour this into my Broncos glass here. Let me spin this around for you. Broncos glass here in a Wolcott. So I'll sort of just pick up what I'm getting on the nose here after I just a fresh pour here. Did not let this sit out. It's a little bit faint, I would say. And the color looks much lighter in my glass here. So that's sort of interesting too. Maybe like a touch of like a sweetness, maybe a little bit of vanilla. I would say that's what I'm getting on the nose, but definitely not a lot of stuff coming in through the nose. Spice, definitely right off the top there. That's sort of a forward spice. Then it sort of mellows out and maybe like a little bit of brown sugar, I would say. Yeah, spice, little bit of vanilla, a little bit of brown sugar, and then the corn comes through here on this. I looked online. I could not find a mash bill on this one, but definitely you can feel like some of that, like popcorn almost. You can definitely pick up on some of that in the flavor. And then the finish is a little bit short, warm, and spice, a little bit of spice, like a little bit of cinnamon there, but not too long lasting. And definitely, I'm still tasting that popcorn sort of feel there. I would think that this one might be better like in a cocktail, maybe like in an old fashioned, mix that with some bitters there and maybe like a little orange peel. I think then maybe you'd be off and running. $30 though, worth a try, I would say, but you're not getting a ton of complexity. 90 proof is pretty solid at this price point, but you're not getting a ton if you want to be drinking this like on the rocks or neat or something like that. But I would say maybe for an old fashioned, that's how I would rank that one. So, okay, that is my review there of Wolcott from Clear Springs Distillery, a Kentucky bourbon there. So that is going to do it for us. Please like and subscribe to the program here. We're really feels like the show's starting to gain some traction, get some wheels, which is very exciting. Really happy to be able to build this community here and engage with Broncos fans, and it's been a lot of fun for me. So looking forward to this matchup against the Chiefs. I think if the Broncos can pull this one off, man, they'll be riding high and gain a lot of confidence. So we'll see if they're able to pull this one off. Field conditions might be a concern there in Kansas City. I heard Sean Payton talking about that this week. Some rain out there, and then also a college game being played there on Saturday. So we'll have to see what the field condition is like for the Broncos. They've obviously played that rain game in New York, so we'll see maybe if having some experience there could help as the season goes along here. So once again, my thanks to Brandon Stokley for joining the program. Catch him on 104.3 The Fan from 6 to 10 on weekday mornings as you're making your commute, and really appreciated his insight this week. All right, that's going to do it for us for Broncos and Bourbon. I am Phil Milani.